So everybody want to be rich and famous. Everybody want to be a baller. Real estate, businesses, million subscribers, $1 billion. The American dream, right? But you got to pay the cost to be the boss. And a lot of rich Americans are going to have to live in prisons of their own making.
For the most part, many officers across the country have been struggling to counter the violent crime plaguing cities from coast to coast. For the city of Atlanta, this could lead to its breakup, and that's because many residents in its wealthiest neighborhood say they have had enough. But is that enough to succeed? And what does it say about us that some think it's better to part ways than to fight challenges together?
So as American culture time moves into the future, more and more of the wealthy class in major cities are going to find themselves being forced to live in prisons of their own making. And no, I ain't talking about the Department of Corrections. I'm talking about a near future where the rich will eventually separate themselves from the rest of us average Joes and po folks. This phenomenon will become most apparent in major cities where the bourgeoisie will create high security environments to live in. As you just saw in the video about Atlanta, there's going to be a political smoke screen as to why they're making these decisions. But as we all know, there's much more going on behind the scenes, meaning there's going to be other factors at work driving this event, and this will become a new staple of wealth culture in America. Now, as always, I've highlighted a few dynamics that I've observed that will be driving this new wealth culture, that will be going well beyond gated communities. Now, as they say, let's get to the money. American greed is a well-established idea and mentality in American culture. American greed symbolizes power. American greed symbolizes wealth. Status. American greed also symbolizes the competitive nature of Americans that often drive us to the top of the playing field to be champions of the arena. And most importantly, American greed symbolizes how there's never enough money for the wealthy. There's always another $1 million, another $1 billion to chase. But if we take a closer look at the mentality of American greed and the wealth culture in America, we find a mentality of superiority and social xenophobia. The wealthy tend to see themselves as different from the rest, better than the rest. And so they often desire to live apart from the rest of us po folks and average Jodies. And we can expect this mindset to spur greater ideas of separatism between classes. As the landscape becomes more strange, divided, contagious, and dangerous, we'll witness more wealthy environments like Buckhead in Atlanta separate, maybe even close themselves off from the rest of society. Another thing we gotta look at, a whole lot of people out here getting to the bag. The wealthy population in America is growing. Rich people getting richer, and new people are joining rich gang. Since 2020 alone, America has seen the rise of a lot of millionaires and multimillionaires. New money, out here doing it big, going down in the city. Pandemic-inspired entrepreneurship, crypto booms, expansion of internet markets are just a few economic factors that contribute. And the new money ain't having no trouble adopting the bougie, social imperialist mindset of their new wealthy classmates. Now, even though the growth of the truly wealthy class has barely changed, the rising population of people who got millions more than the rest of us will lead to the rich class having more political power and local influence among the high class, enabling the high class to dictate more parameters of the cities that they inhabit. But what's more interesting to me is that the upper classes are becoming more diverse, and diversity always impacts culture. Which reminds me of something else. No matter how people may feel about it, a lot of lines in America are being crossed and becoming blurred. As heated as the race debate can often seem sometimes these days, it's actually leading to a general exhaustion with the topic among all groups. People are tired of talking about it, tired of hearing about it, even tired of fighting about it. And even though the sharp ones among us know that the media syndicate profits from the race debate, as we move further into a global world, we will see racial barriers start to fade from society and maybe even disappear in the generation ahead. In my opinion, Gen Z is the greatest indicator of how the color line is already disappearing in America. See, Gen Z has grown up on social media, interacting with cultures and colors all over the world on a daily basis. They are not so sensitive about race like the generations before them. Another dynamic at work is the gender line fading. Although this may be a phenomenon that may be specific to certain countries like America, we can see it happening, again, especially among the younger generations. You also had the religion line blurring. It's becoming played out. A lot of people not so religious as they used to be. Belief systems have become fluid, and institutionalized traditional religion no longer has sway over the majority of minds of people. So if you think about it, with race, gender, and religion largely out of the equation, the only thing you have left is class. Who has wealth and who doesn't? Wealth still matters, and I would argue that it's becoming the only thing that matters. So now with green being the only color that matters, rich being the only gender that matters, and money being the only religion and the only God that matters, we get to the haves and have-not. You either got a bag or you don't. If you ain't getting no paper, your life means nothing. You either got a net worth or you worthless. This is the mentality that has taken over in American culture. And as easy as it is to get money nowadays, the irony is that the class of have-nots is still a present factor and ain't going nowhere no time soon. This dynamic becomes even more significant with the mid and lower classes in rebellion to the big corporations and the federal government who refuse to pay citizens a living wage. And guess who's the most opposed to paying people a living wage? You got it, the wealthy class. See, many people who have lost or quit jobs in 2020 still ain't went back. And it's not only due to laziness like boomers and mainstream media want us to think. Many people started businesses, found good hustles online, and of course, many refuse to go back to low wages. Even right now, there's been talk going around about a great resignation to fight the corporate overlord, aka the wealthy class. And if you add that whole fiasco to the fact that technology will continue to take jobs, then we got a serious problem on our hands with more people becoming have-nots. And keep in mind that the have-nots may not necessarily be poor, but they damn sure ain't wealthy. So when these wealthy hoods inside Atlanta, New York, Miami become surrounded by more and more people envious of their ability to live, we ain't seen nothing yet. We've all seen the headlines. Atlanta ain't no unicorn out here. Violent crime and crime in general is still a problem in America. For some reason, no matter how great America becomes, we just can't stop being criminals. Now, obviously, violent crime will force more wealthy people to leave major cities. But for those who don't leave, they'll be forced to resort to the same actions as Buckhead. Unless gun laws and the criminal justice system change in this country, crime ain't getting no better. People are not afraid of going to jail. People ain't afraid of the law. Nowadays, ain't even afraid of the police and barely like the police. And let's not forget, with the wealthy class growing in population, that means more target for the have-nots who out here trying to get some paper and willing to do it at the expense of those who may be able to afford it. Then there's the elephant in the room that people don't want to talk about. And that's how many wealthy families in America are wealthy because of crime. Remember, America was built on crime. You had criminal acts against the natives and indigenous people, Jewish and Italian crime families building industries like gambling and entertainment, drug lords building up cities like Miami and New York, the dope game. And today we have tens of thousands of lawyers, prosecutors, and judges who would all lose out on their big retainers and high salaries if the problem of crime was ever solved in America. Dirty politicians on the payroll included. So crime and the black market are just as much a part of our economy as the retail industry and commodities. It is what it is. So as we can see, as much as the upper crust cry about crime, many of them have zero interest in actually solving crime. So how do we decode this conundrum? We want to get away from crime, but we don't want crime to go away. The only solution is to lock ourselves away from crime in a rich paradise/prison. Now, this is the primary issue leading to the high amount of crime in America when it comes from people below the poverty line. It's because American culture is known for flaunting wealth. If you look at news, TV, social media, advertisement, billboards, everywhere in society, from celebrity worship to the obsession of tallying up billionaires on the Forbes list, this is a problem. Now, why is this a problem? Well, when you have a large class of have-not, it's problematic to always be throwing money in their face. See, if a poor person never sees a glimpse of a better existence, they would think poverty was normal, and they would largely be unbothered by their material circumstances. It would be their health and human interactions that mattered the most. But when a poor person spends their whole life seeing the wealthy flaunt their riches in their face, it creates social anxieties and desperations to obtain those material things, that better life. This leads to a ridiculous amount of crime we see in our city. Of course, good upbringing and moral culture is the X factor, but flashing money on people that don't have it is the fastest way to start a problem. Social media has made this problem 10 times worse. Over 70% of robbers K-State's targets on social media, so the rich can't stop flexing riches, because it's one of the joys of being rich. It's in the culture, which means the wolves and the vultures are going to keep coming. It's only a matter of time before the wealthy use their wealth to create spaces all to themselves in major cities and heavily populated urban areas that are overrun with crime. The advancement of technology is primarily driven by the interest in convenience and the need for security. And when it comes to the wealthy creating private playgrounds for themselves in the inner city, this rule of innovation will have a full-time job. Now, the irony is that technological advancement could actually be the force that puts out the fires of rampant crime across the country. But let's be honest here, even in a society where all the currency is digital and all the cars are smart with AI security, you'll still get robbed for other valuables like jewelry and all that designer stuff that rich people told us poor people was extremely important and we should have at all costs. And as we already checked off, crime is a big hustle in all classes of society, so the likelihood of solving crime in this country using technology is more on the realm of a possibility rather than a probability. But tech would definitely increase the ability of the wealthy to construct and upscale safe zones for themselves without having to use actual gates and walls to do it. If we look at Buckhead, Atlanta, for example, even if the hood does become its own city with police, What's actually stopping the jack boys from riding down those streets like they've been doing? It damn sure won't be because the cop cars got new names on them. There will have to be reinforced tech-savvy security systems installed into the infrastructure of the new city that only the rich can afford, that will eventually deter crime effectively in ways that the surrounding Atlanta city limits can't do. Sounds a whole lot like an urban prison to me. Question is, how long will it take these spoiled egomaniacs to realize it? So a question for the viewers. If you could have $1 billion, but you had to live in a 5-mile radius of a wealthy, lavish, luxurious playground with everything you could ever dream of doing, but you could never leave, would you take the $1 billion? Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Please like the video, please subscribe to the channel if you like our content, and check out the other videos. We're doing it for the culture and we're sticking to the code. I'm your host, Rasheed Game.